Hey, hello everybody. So today we're going to be doing car problems. I have a Toyota Corolla. It's an '09. It's well over 100,000 miles now. And it's been about 2 years now that I've been having intermittent problems that mostly would just be focused around the wintertime. And so I don't have a lot of money, and so I have to kind of do most of my own diagnosis because if you start spending too much money on an old car like that, you might as well just put that money toward a down payment on a new one. So the symptoms of the car were I'd be sitting at a light, or let's say even just starting it up first thing in the morning, it's cold, and it would kind of, and the idle was kind of off. And then the worst day of it, I turned on the car and it's like bucking, and I get a check engine light, and check the check engine light, and it says cylinder misfire number 2. So I was like, oh, that doesn't sound good. So I go round and round, and in my past experience, the mass airflow sensor can cause serious running issues if it's not running correctly. So first thing I do is I unscrew the mass airflow sensor, kind of put out a little dish, and take some cleaner and rinse out the entire mass airflow, put it back in. Maybe it's running a little better, but it definitely hasn't fixed the issue. So go round and round, and first of all I want to say thank you to my friends Bob and Jared. I've been working on cars since about 2005 or 6 with them when I first met them, and they're a lot of help. And I also need to say thank you to, there's a YouTube channel called Schrodinger Box, and Schrodinger Box has a wealth of information about self-diagnosing your own running problems. So I get a nice scan tool, and I start looking at the numbers, and there's things like short-term fuel trim and long-term fuel trim, where the computer is adjusting for vacuum leaks, sensor problems, all kinds of issues your car might have, and it's adding or taking away fuel. And all of that looked good. My friend Jared's a professional mechanic, and I ran the numbers by him, and he says, well, that doesn't sound wrong. So we're going around and around and around, and I watch a Schrodinger box, and he's diagnosing a Subaru, and he gets it down to the point where it's a coil. And so ignition coil. And modern cars, instead of having a coil over here and spark plugs that carry the spark to the top of the spark plug, modern cars have what's called coil unplug, I guess. And if I'm using the wrong terms, please fix it in the comments. I'm not a mechanic. So you actually have wiring going to the coil, and the coil sits right on top of the plug. The coil gets us a fire signal, it fires directly. So I start going through, and I had a cylinder misfire number 2, right? So that's the first one I start with. So I order myself a set of coils, and I figure I will start with cylinder number 2 because that's the one that's giving me the error. So I replaced coil number 2, and it definitely made a difference. But I went ahead and ordered an entire set of coils. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but it doesn't look terrible. Looking along here, I don't see any black spots. I do see some signs of corrosion up here, but it doesn't really look terrible. Yes. So you see that right there? So that came out of cylinder number 1. And that right there is carbon deposits. So what happens is when a spark happens, it leaves a little tiny bit of carbon. And a spark and a spark and a spark in the wrong spot. And you can see there's been a ton of sparks in the wrong spot. Also corrosion here. So what ends up happening is, you get the signal to fire, comes in, and instead of firing directly on the plug, my friend explained it to me that this starts to get corroded and break down, and you'll have arcing where you don't want it. And so what happens is your cylinder is being robbed of spark power, and it's not firing. So I replaced all 4 coils, and lo and behold, my car runs a million times better. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think car has over 100,000 miles, and I can still sort of feel something, but it's running a heck of a lot better. So maybe the next place I would start is maybe I'll start looking into the O2 sensor. if you are getting a cylinder misfire, if you're getting running issues, the way this would culminate when I was driving would be I'd be sitting at a light and I'd go to give it gas and it was like there was nothing there. It would be like, ugh, and it would lag and it would kind of go down. And what would be funny is if you really floored it, kicked it down in gear, got the RPMs up, it would work pretty well. So I think what was happening is when you floored it, it was making a whole lot of spark and it was enough voltage that it was actually getting to where it needed to be. But if you were just sort of on it a little bit, it wasn't really, the spark in that cylinder was just not making it to where it should have. So I did not buy these from the dealership. My friend Jared had the idea for me to go on Amazon, and I found some coils that said genuine Toyota. I was really skeptical because they were literally half price from what they were compared to with the dealership. But you can see each one of them showed up. I'd say there's 2 generations of... You can see how different the boxes looked. And this one definitely looked like it was very old. It looks like they redesigned the packaging so more of these could fit on a shelf. But anyway, they seemed to be genuine Toyota. So Amazon has those for about half price from what you can pay at the dealership. So if you need coils, I went ahead and changed all the coils, which was a great idea because I was getting a cylinder misfire on number 2. But if you watch Schrodinger Box, even though it says cylinder number 2, doesn't mean that that's necessarily the problem cylinder. So I would say it was number 1 cylinder was the worst of them. And so maybe I was getting a misfire on 1 and it was showing up as a number 2 misfire. Or maybe they were all misfiring, it's hard to say. But definitely on cylinder number 1 you could see showed the worst signs of spark arcing. So anyway, that's my little auto shop experience, and I probably saved myself $1,000 changing 4 coils myself. I will say I would recommend you have a professional mechanic change your coils. There's only 1 bolt, but that bolt goes into the head, so if you break off that screw inside of the head, you're going to have a nightmare. Most people don't have the ability to drill and tap out that hole. You could break the head trying to get that screw out. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that very simple repair, even though it's 1 bolt and 1 connector. So, in my opinion, I am very poor, so I went ahead and did it myself, and I also have some experience working on cars, and I know you need to be very careful. A number 10 bolt is not very strong, and it's really easy to break it, and if you break that off in the head, you're going to have a terrible time because you will not be able to, if that bolt breaks, you're not going to be able to get that coil down there and have it seat properly. So it could be one of those repairs where you try to do it yourself and you end up costing yourself a lot of money if you're not experienced with how much torque. And even 100,000 miles, they're old bolts, something could go wrong even if you were the most careful person in the world. So I would recommend you have it done at a shop just for the fact that you don't try to save a penny and end up costing $200. Anyway, everybody have a good time. Sorry I haven't done a video for a while. I've been trying to release all those reggae videos. I had such a great time out at Northwest World Reggae Festival. So anyway, thank you very much to all my customers. I'm going to try to do a special thank you video. I cannot thank everybody enough. Running my own little company has been a lot of fun, and there would be no little company without all of you. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I need to do a separate thank you video just to all my customers and say thank you. It's been a very nice experience and a fantastic amount of learning and very positive, and it was everything I needed right when I needed it. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I hope this helps somebody out there. There's a lot of cars that have coil issues. Even if you have an older car that has spark plug wires going bad causes a tremendous amount of running issues that you could chalk up to more serious issues, whereas you should start with something simple like spark plug wires. Coils are not cheap. This would have been $150 at the dealership, and it was $75 on Amazon. So, and it would appear to be a genuine Toyota product. Anyway, everybody have a good day. I'm rambling here, and have a good weekend. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for everybody who purchases items in my stores. I really appreciate it. Anyway, everybody have a good holiday season, and thank you very much. Alright, hello everybody. We're going to be doing car maintenance today. Changing out coils in the Corolla. You already see I've done one of them. I had a check engine light.
cylinder misfire number 2, and after a lot of research I thought it might be a coil. It seems to be running better already, but I want to change them all out and make sure that it actually was the coils. So we'll go to it. It's really easy. I have a 10 millimeter. It's basically just a 10 millimeter and loosening a connector, and then it should wiggle right off. So what my friend who's a mechanic tells me is this rubber gets corroded and damaged, and what'll happen is probably when moisture was getting in here. I know it's a problem when it was wet and colder, and probably I was having arcing during those periods. So here's some tips. Starting about right here, probably a good half inch before I am down, you begin to contact with the spark plug, and you just kind of wiggle it down and make sure you make a good seat. You can't line it up incorrectly because the bolt will do your alignment for you. So we're going to bolt it down and reconnect it. Here we're not going to go very tight. We don't want to snap off this screw. It's not very strong, so I'm going to really choke up and not do it very much tighter past my AVL resistance. Okay, you see how I didn't go out on the end of the wrench. That's how you snap off a bolt and have a very bad day. Very important when you put that connector down, you should hear and feel an audible click. That's when you know you're down. Alright, we're going to go to the next one. Make sure you turn your wrench into the back off position so you don't snap your bolt. Always check that. Make sure you're going counterclockwise. Now this time I'm going to remember to take off the connector before I loosen it. Should not be hard, just a little wiggle. And then I use the tip of the screwdriver to kind of lift up the tab to help it along so nothing snaps. This car has over 100,000 miles on it and everything is old and brittle. Very careful backing it off, applying just enough pressure that's required. I don't want to break that bolt. Like I said, everything's been 100,000 miles. It's been through warming cycles and cooling cycles, and it sits outside. And my personal opinion, any car with over 100,000 miles is slowly rebuilt, piece by piece. So I'm replacing my coils with genuine Toyota. I believe there's two part numbers. There's the 0919022258. That's one of them, and I believe you'll find another one that is slightly different from that number. There's several part numbers for these Corolla coils. So what I did was I went online on Amazon because it is substantially cheaper than buying from the dealership, unfortunately. Again, just kind of gentle wiggle. That came off real nice. I don't know if that's sign of arcing. Anyway, there's the old one to the new one. It's always a good idea. You put them next to each other, make sure they're going to be exactly the same depth and that they physically look very similar. And these do. They say genuine Toyota on them. don't know. That sign of arcing right there? Hard to say, or just corrosion. Anyway, when I'm done, I'm going to see if maybe I can do some testing with resistance and see if there's any differences in these coils. Again, I start to feel resistance about a ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch before you're actually anywhere near the bolt that's seating onto the plug. Finally, put it back on, and you should hear and feel a nice audible click. One last thing is just check your work. Make sure those are all down. So we're looking good. Next step is we'll just clean up everything and start her up. So anyway, thanks for joining me here, and I'll do a follow-up afterward after I start and drive and let you know if I fixed it.